all sort of, sensibilities are represented there. Towards the end, there's a guy who looks to all the world like a young Nigel Farage.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I stopped the video and said, is that young Nigel Farage? Like, sans milkshake stains. Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. It's Andy, it's John, and we are here to listen to and discuss some music. John is up to bat. He's going to be offering me something to go off and listen to, and I'm going to do just that. John, what do you have in store for me today, my friend?
It's a band that we have listened to before, but unbelievably, and I'm ashamed on my part, this is only the second time we've listened to them. And that band is The Specials.
Okay, something with the word bitch in it was the title of the track we did by them, right? And it was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a variation on that Beatles song, something. It was called Something Like a Bitch. No. It was called Little Bitch. And it was in July 2023, so best part of 3 years ago. Jesus.
Yeah, we are overdue then. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was because of the elements in there were similar to Dandy Warhol's New Bohemian, which we'd listened to very, very recently, so that's why. So yeah, excuse me. So we have the song "Enjoy Yourself," and this is a live version, live at Montreux in 1980. So you get to see a little flavour of what they were like.
Okay. And now these guys had a bit of a ska sound to them, if I recall correctly, right?
Totally, they led the way in the ska revival in the UK.
Okay, exactly. All right. You're dusting off these memories that have come flooded back. Yeah, which is, I guess that's also apropos too, because we've sort of discussed elements of that style of music in some of the Sublime stuff we've covered here early on in 2026. Yeah. It's kind of adjacent to that. So cool. Yeah. I look forward to revisiting these guys, and a live video is always fun to watch versus just the audio version of the song. So, all right, cool. Let me go plug in and I'll come back and let you know my thoughts. Oh my God. Looks like he's had something.
Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years go by.
Slow down.
As quickly as you wait. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think.
Okay.
Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the thing. The years go by.
That drummer have a cigarette in his mouth while he was playing that beat? Yeah, this is interesting. I was expecting it to kick off in some way in like some sort of ska motif, and here we are. Given my limited knowledge of the band, I'm taking it back a little bit because I kind of want to take it to where it's about to kick off. And yeah, this guy right here, old Tom Foolery in the in the green polo with the pop collar, just stealing everybody's lady. All right, yeah, let's pick up and see if this is where we catch it. That's what better place than there. It's clearly talking about the fleeting nature of time.
Enjoy yourself, enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. I must have silence. Take it down. Hello, my name's Terry, and I've really enjoyed myself tonight. When I leave Switzerland in 2 days, I leave knowing that you're deep in my heart.
It's a nice way to win over a crowd.
It's good to be wise when you're young, but you can only be young but for once. Enjoy yourself and have lots of fun. So God and live, my friend, and it will never die. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink.
I can only imagine how I'm sure not all artists feel this way, but this would be pretty anxiety-inducing for some people. Also, hats off to the crowd for like keeping this pretty peaceful. I mean, I've seen shows where this stuff kind of gets raucous and out of hand, and dare I say, even violent. I know this isn't exactly the music that would conjure that sort of reaction from the crowd, but it's nice to see everybody this huddled up and just having fun. At least, I mean, up until now, shit, I hope I don't hit play and someone knocks over the keyboard and all hell breaks loose. But it's kind of wholesome in a way to see this many people come around and just celebrate a song live.
The years go by as quickly as you wish. Enjoy yourself, enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Listen. Everybody sit down. Sit down. Sit down on the floor. Sit down. Sit down.
Smoking.
Oi! Sit down. Sit down, everybody. Sit down. That's it. Everybody.
The visage of these two. This is great. This is so fun. It's like the coolest guy in school and the biggest nerd in school have come together for crowd control. I'm loving it.
No. Leave that like that.
It's not helping his cause.
Wisdom and understanding. Those three working a tree by the baker. Go to school, learn the rules, don't be no baker. It's not right for you to be a footstool. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years go by.
I'm starting to see why the cool kids run with old tomfoolery over here. He's playing his keyboard backwards and from on top of it, which is pretty impressive.
As quickly as you wish. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. One more time. Enjoy.
Is that Nigel Farage? Like 30 or 40 years ago? What are we looking at? Oh, Jesus. 1980. Yeah. Even farther back. Wow.
It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years will go by as quickly as you will. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think.
Yes. Enjoy yourself. Well, I did. I did enjoy myself. This was fun. It'd be hard pressed to imagine anyone in this audience not enjoying themselves for this performance, as it seemed everybody was doing just that. In fact, I don't even think enjoying themselves does it justice. It looked like they were really having a fabulous time, and as well they should. I mean, this isn't my go-to genre of music or anything like that. It certainly wouldn't be a top of any playlist that I had as far as having been listened to over and over again. But this is just, you can't deny that this is a really fucking good time. Um, and the audience all for the most part look to be the perfect group of people to have this messaging sent to, and they look like they were enjoying themselves, like listening to and adhering to this advice that was being offered to them in a very well packaged fun way by the specials. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. I enjoyed all of it. It had this very obviously like movable beat to it, sort of that bouncy nature that you get with ska music anyway. So yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed watching it. I'm glad that John shared this with me. Live performances like this are always interesting to behold, even if the song isn't a perfect 10 out of 10 in your estimation. You can't really deny how fun it is to kind of watch this stuff unfold and to see that many people enjoying themselves. So let's get back to John and chop this one up a bit more.
Eddie Cheever, he's back. So you've enjoyed yourself with the specials and approximately a couple of thousand of their closest friends.
Very
so what did you think of it all?
This was I said at the end of this, it doesn't matter if you like this music or not, and that's not to project my feelings, but I'm just saying in general, like it doesn't. This is fun to watch and witness and behold, and it only costs you a few minutes, and it's a lot of people having fun doing the very thing that they are being preached to do by the band, which makes it all that much more. I don't know. There's this extra like glistening bit of wholesomeness to all of that, when you're watching it all unfold, even though they are being raucous and silly. That's part of human nature too, and it's actually one of the best parts when you think about all the other options. So it's just heartening to see all of that. So this is a really fun video to watch, and the song was really great too. I think again, even if it's not your top 2 or 3 favorite genres of music, if you are into the history and the evolution of music, specifically guitar, any kind of guitar style of music, it's pretty important to give this stuff a go and to kind of open your ears and mind to this information. We talked ad nauseum. We're from 2 different parts of the world, separated not only by all that real estate and water, but also a generation. So there's a lot of gaps that can get filled in there from both sides. And this is a great example of learning a bit more and seeing a bit more and hearing a bit more about the British ska scene, which honestly, yeah, I know British guitar rock and indie rock and the mod scene and the 60s stuff. All of that is kind of like, you have to know that information to be a fan of rock and roll over here for a lot of the stuff that's made it mainstream here. It's hard to avoid. It's common knowledge, I guess you could say. This stuff, which is the more niche you become, the more divorced from that kind of information and flow of that information you get. So you're filling in gaps for me. It's really interesting to be able to do that, because this has that very much the two-tone kind of ska sound that I am used to and that you do hear come through in the American ska scene. So yeah, it was all a lot of fun to listen to this. The video kicks off. We've got plenty of shots of the crowd, sort of comprised of more than a few interesting looking attendees. The fellow with the leather fedora and Elton John inspired eyewear was an immediate standout, but he was, go ahead.
Yes, there's all sort of, sensibilities are represented there. Towards the end, there's a guy who looks to all the world like a young Nigel Farage.
Oh my God. Oh my god, I stopped the video and said, is that young Nigel Farage? Like, sans milkshake stains.
Yeah,
That's exactly, and it's even in my notes, which I'm now gonna have to try to not repeat as I go through these notes I've typed out. But yes,
I'm glad we're on the same page. It's just so funny. It really is.
dude, when I saw him, I was like, oh God, where is that 2.5 packs a day smoker voice to go along with this
Yeah,
guy?
yeah, yeah.
I'm so used to hearing from that pissant Farage. That is hilarious. I'm so glad that you said that. Even if you did sort of steal my thunder there. Um, but I will say the guy in the fedora had some stiff competition. It was immediately out of the gate by the guy who looked like he had taken too much something that made him feel good because there was a lot of mouth movement and stuff going on and
Yeah.
silliness behind him. So yeah, that was all a lot of fun to listen to. Musically, this Visage is accompanied by a playfully meandering bass line, some sustained keynote, and some light bell or tambourine. It almost had a sleigh bell feel, but also at a moment it sounded like a mounted tambourine. And then some light touches on the cymbals from there from our percussionist, who, by the way, fucking hats off to him for doing the whole thing with a fully lit cigarette in his mouth the whole time. I saw he wasn't the only one in the band, but he looked the most preoccupied. And for him to
Yeah.
just tolerate the smoke in the eye while, all over the kit, pretty impressive. I had to stop. I'm like, what is, oh my God. Yeah, he's smoking while he's doing that. Impressive. So yeah, then in comes the vocal delivery with the titular line, like it's the mantra of some children's song at this point. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink, which is a dubious line, but I think I understand what they're saying. The years go by as quickly as you wink. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. So this does seem to be aimed at a more youthful demographic, and clearly the message to this whole thing seems to be like underscoring the fleeting nature of time. And during this portion, we get treated to some like goofball antics by our man in green on the keys. Hello, another very important character in this whole novella, whose name escapes me. I'm sure you've mentioned it in the prior video, but it's been almost 3 years, so I'm calling him Tom Foolery for this one because that's what he's chock full of throughout all of this. Then with a couple raps of the drums, the band kicks up the tempo, and we're off to the races in this very ska-like fashion, horns and all. This gives way to another iteration of that opening stanza of lyrics that I'm now quite confident is the chorus. And as this time it sounds less like a children's song and more like almost like a sports chant or a bar song now that it has this more rollicking progression to it. The kind of thing you sing when you've had a few drinks and you're surrounded by like-minded company, and you're all having a bit of fun. Then one of the bandmates insists he must have silence. I assume requesting of his bandmates to take it down, he says at one point, before he then introduces himself. And he's Terry, and he claims to have enjoyed himself tonight, and that when he leaves Switzerland in 2 days, he'll do so knowing that the audience is deep in his heart, which is an excellent way to win over a crowd. Good job, Terry. He delivers his vocals as the guitar injects these playful, bouncy little motifs over the top of the rest of the band. And he continues this theme of capitalizing on the time we have in our youth, reminding us we only live once and we have to live or have fun whilst we're still young. And after this portion, we get another iteration of the chorus, and I have to say that the stage is only becoming more raucous and crowded, as we have what can only be described as the musical concert version of a pitch invasion unfolding before our eyes. Like everybody is crowding. And I had to stop and think, depending on the artist, this might be seriously fucking anxiety inducing to have that many people around you. And like old Tom Foolery is getting by, but you could tell that those people are really breathing down his neck. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to say, this isn't the exception. This is what happened at pretty much every one of their gigs.
I got that vibe. I thought it might have been turned up to 11, but it looks like there wasn't their first rodeo as far as welcoming audience members onto the stage. They seem to be pretty at home with that. So that's why I was saying, like, for some artists, but for them, it felt like their pocket. You know what I mean? Kind of like what they do. So, the band reins in the tempo a bit, and things quiet down. And the band begins directing the attendees to sit down. This mostly appears to be coming from the shirtless wonder and tomfoolery. I had to stop because I'm sorry, but there's something hilarious about those two standing up there commanding attention. I had to stop and say, it looks like the coolest guy in school and the biggest dork in school came together for crowd control, to work together to create peace among the masses. It was a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, tomfoolery only seems to be throwing these half-hearted walk like an Egyptian and disco dance moves at the audience, while the other dude is actually doing much more, is being much more communicative with his directives. The shirtless fella then takes the lead vocal role in the next stanza and continues this theme of offering up solid advice to the audience. He sings of acquiring wisdom and knowledge and understanding, I think he said given by the maker, and he implores them to go to school and learn the rules, and to be sincere. You wouldn't hear that last bit in a punk song, I have to admit. But it was nice to hear, like, hey, you know, if you learn the rules, you don't have to live by them necessarily, but at least know them. So if you get in trouble, you know how to work around them. And as the chorus kicks off, tomfoolery is still atop his rig, crouching down and playing the keys backwards. With, you know, a flood of respect just came in for tomfoolery, despite his loose-fitting popped collar polo and goofball nature. This guy seriously knows what he's doing and how to have fun doing it. So that was a lot of cool to watch him kind of command his instrument in the midst of all that, you know, craziness. Then the camera pans to what looks like a young Nigel Farage in a full button-up suit, sans milkshake stains, as he dances along.
Can't see myself.
No, you didn't know that. And they go along with another repetition of the chorus. We see our keyboardist back on solid ground, which is a relief. And we also get some great shots from behind the drum kit as well. And the drummer is splashed around, cigarette in mouth, going from cymbal to cymbal. Just before the initial vocalist hits the final line of the chorus, as he bounces the delivery of that word think, kind of in a seesawy way, as the song comes to a close. So, man, this was such a goofy but truly fun, and as I mentioned, kind of wholesomely mad performance. And I can imagine that for some folks, that would be a lot to be a part of, especially from like the musician standpoint. But it's also far less violent than any other performance with that kind of audience interaction that I've seen. You know, and I don't know if that's an American thing or if it's like, you know, because I know you guys know how to kick off with the violence when it comes to the soccer hooliganry and all that stuff. But I didn't know if you guys had like the violent mosh pits that we often see here. But this isn't the kind of music that would get that kind of reaction from an audience anyway. So it's kind of the perfect storm and confluence of mindset, the right group of people, the right music, and just the vibes and aesthetic that are on display. So yeah, I think again, I'll echo my sentiments earlier. I think this is another great example by the Specials showing and exhibiting what like English two-tone ska music sounded like based on our conversations and what you've told and shown me. So please, John, tell me more about the group and this bonkers performance from Montreux.
Excellent, thank you, Andy. Yeah, the reason I chose this song, it's not their best song, but it is one of the most anthemic. It has taken a place in British culture for some reason, but the performance and the way they interact with the crowd is truly amazing, especially seen back from 2026 to back to then. Because some of those performances back then on the circuit in 1980 would have been dodgy places sometimes, or live venues, you know, and so this was a truly, you know, amazing thing. Yeah, and the song itself has got this strange tinge to it as well. For me, it almost has like a old-fashioned post-Blitz feel about it, although it's flying in the face when they deliver it of almost the threat of things like nuclear war and stuff like that. But it can apply throughout the ages. It's a very old song. So let's get into it. This comes from the album. We previously covered Specials on episode Little Bitch. I'll put a link in below. There was loads about the formation of the band, etc. So I won't cover over that too much. So this comes from their second album, More Specials, which was released to Tone Records in September 1980. So after the success of the band's debut album, band member Jerry Dammers assumed the role as a band leader, and stirred them into expanding their two-tone sound into other genres of music, more prominently sort of lounge music, easy listening music inspired by Muzak. Several band members disagreed with Dammer's vision and brought their own influences to the album, which included Northern Soul and Rockabilly and other stuff as well. So we have a real eclectic sound palette to the album. So the members, just to go over, the very wonderful and much missed Terry Hall on vocals, who was the guy who enjoyed himself the most. Linville Golding, guitar, vocals. Neville Staple, vocals, percussion, and in this case, crowd control. Jerry Dammers, organ, piano, keyboards, production. Mr. Tomfoolery. What you wouldn't have seen there because of the footage, but he's also missing his front teeth.
There was one scene where he sort of like spoke earlier on into, I think, to one of the audience members, if I'm being honest. And for a fleeting moment, I was like, what the fuck? Because it looked like he had just got done playing for the, men's hockey team, over,
yeah.
in Italy, because his teeth are just blown out.
Rodney Byers, guitar. The very wonderful Horace Panther on bass, one of the best bassists there was in that era. John Bradbury drums as well, and for the album they had some guest players. The magnificent Rico Rodriguez on trombone, and some of his stuff is absolutely amazing. Dick Cuthell on cornet, flugelhorn, and horn. Lee Thompson saxophone. We just mentioned him in an episode recently. He wrote Embarrassment for Madness. Paul Hesker saxophone and Rhoda Dakar vocals. She did an amazing song called The Boiler, which I will not give to you because it is truly harrowing, but unbelievable. And Belinda, Charlotte, and Jane, it says here, on backing vocals. So, as I said before, Dammers wanted to move the band sound forward, away from ska and towards new territory. He's quoted saying, "It's time for two-tone bands to begin getting experimental. Some of the homegrown ska has started to become a cliche. We've got to start all over again." Years later, he added, "Ska was just a launching point. I didn't want us to end up like Bad Manners." It's a British ska band that's seen as a bit, yeah. Anyway, for Dammers, this change meant he could pursue his fascination with easy listening and mood music. In particular, he was interested in Muzak. Band member Neville Staples said, "This is a reflection of the band's constant touring abroad." He said, "We were in airplanes too much, man, and hotels. We were hearing that kind of elevator music, those drum machine beats, everywhere you went. You soak up what surrounds you." And in Dammer's own recollection, he had been inspired by listening to these styles while on tour in America in particular. And in 2009, he said, "On that tour in America, I was listening to music in hotel bars and elevators, vibraphone music in elevators. Obviously, this is classed as rubbish. I don't know if it was my state of mind because I was so zonked, but it struck me as a really weird psychedelic music, which is now called lounge or exotica. It's been rehabilitated, but at the time, to say you actually like that music was mad. It completely freaked out some of the band. Kind of understandable." Unlike the first Specials album, which was produced by Elvis Costello in a very raw fashion, they're just playing live in the studio, really. This one, Dammers, along with a guy called Dave Jordan, produced the Specials, and it was really crafted in the studio in pursuit of his perfection. He saw the studio as another sort of brush within his palettes, as a sort of all the possibilities it presented in terms of overdubbing and fine tuning. So it really went to work on it. So constantly, it's more producer influence than the debut album. So according to Panther, Dammers would listen to any music with an open mind, feeling that no matter whether he initially thought the music was good or bad, he would grow to like it with repeated plays. His ambition with more Specials was to destroy people's preconceived ideas of good and bad music to the point where listeners will hear a record and won't even know if they like it or not. And they said the band's intention was to become more international. So several members, as you can imagine, opposed Dammers' proposed music lounge jazz experiment. Byers was moving to a different direction of his fusions of ska with rockabilly, and he was contributing to a difference of opinion, which actually destroyed his friendship with Dammers.
Who was the fan of rockabilly in the band? Which instrumentalist?
So that was Rodney Byers, and he plays guitar. He wasn't forward fronting in terms of seeing them on the video. You just saw clips of them.
Even the guitar in this track during the part where the singer and him are kind of like doing little runs
Yeah.
back and forth together didn't sound, it sounded like he was bringing something else to the table, injecting something else into ska by playing that particular motif on the guitar. So that doesn't surprise me now, having heard it and hearing what you've just said about him.
So yeah, so Byers, he acknowledged that Dammers, had all this determination, and he sort of started the band. Dammers himself started the two-tone label, which made such a big difference for bands out that Midlands area.
Mhm.
But Byers felt that despite that sort of vision, he wanted to dominate and run everything himself, and so he wanted to play his rockabilly style. So consequently, he began creating songs that are more sort of punk or power pop styles as well. Bradbury, his interest was in Northern Soul, and so all of this contributed to different sounds within the album. So it's a much wider blend of sounds. The album itself is bookended with two cover versions. There's a reprise of Enjoy Yourself, so it starts and finishes the album.
Mm.
One of the critics at the time wrote that the irony behind this song is quite black because of what was going on in Britain at the time, and then telling people to enjoy themselves. So in the version that owns the album, the song's upbeat. There's some great drumming from Bradbury, but it's quite ironic that it hints at the nation's then sort of fear of potential nuclear war. And there was always something people would be afraid of, I guess. But it indicates a movement away from ska slightly. There's the horn arrangements were said to sort of evoke Bernard Herrmann and Northern Dance Orchestra more than sort of ska per se. Enemy wrote to the album, fans expecting more frenetic ska reruns will do a treble flip when they hear the conglomerate of Chicago-esque music soundtracks and other much maligned music the specials have revalidated. Their energy has become more sensual too, less Invitus dance and more mellow hip grind. All Music wrote, less frenzied than its predecessor, but more musically adventurous. More Specials was nearly as popular today as its predecessor, falling just one chart place below the debut. It kicked off in similar fashion as well with a classic cover, this time with the exuberant take on Carl Sigman and Conrad Magison's 1940s chestnut Enjoy Yourself. And Uncut wrote the lyrical dread that's more existential than adolescent, but felt that the most interesting development is the sonic shift from monochrome two-tone to Technicolor. And Louder Than War said More Specials documents a point where the band widened their palette even further within the black and white represented by a rainbow, replaced by a rainbow. And felt it was a shame that the album signposted what could have been if the band had managed to stay together, but maybe they said all they could as a unit at this time. So the song you listen to, Enjoy Yourself, brackets this later thing, is a popular song, first published in 1949, with music written by Carl Sigman and lyrics by Herb Madison. So this is a cover of the song originally recorded by Guy Lombardo and his Royal Canadians in 1949. Great
I
title.
didn't know that.
Yes. So only the chorus is the original lyrics. The verses were actually redone and rewritten by Prince Buster, who's another person we mentioned in the Madness episode recently. So this song has been covered by a variety of people over the years. So people which I'm sure feel very heavy in your record collection. Doris Day,
Double
Big
D.
Tommy Dorsey, Jules Holland and his Rhythm and Blues Orchestra, Louis Prima, and the Supremes, amongst many others.
Oh, wow.
Music critic John Harrington wrote that the eclectic mixture of styles and More Specials influenced 90s trip-hop acts, including Massive Attack and Portishead, while the revival of interest for easy listening in the mid-90s could be traced back to Dammer's work on More Specials. And the album was included in the book 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before Cocktail Hour. And I think we've been on this page more than once, but there is More Specials, if I can see it on there. And we have Teardrop Explodes, UB40, Stevie Winwood, the diver. Pretenders on the next page. Susie the Mountain's Juju, we definitely covered that. And then going the other way, the Jam sound effects, Tom Waits, Heart Attack and Vine, we definitely cover that. Undertones, Hypnotized. What a Joy Division closer. Iron Maiden. What a time to be alive. So yeah, lyrics. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years go by as quickly as you wink. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. And then that ska beat kicks in. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. The years go by as quickly as you think. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Now in the album version, it then cuts down and you have Terry Hall going, "Hello, I'm Terry, and I'm going to enjoy myself first." But in this one, he says, "I must have silence. Take it down. Hello, my name's Terry. I've really enjoyed myself tonight. When I leave Switzerland in 2 days, I leave knowing that you're deep in my heart."
Mhm.
I don't know whether he means it or not because he sounds really insincere, but that's just his bad. Bless him.
It did
He's,
sound a bit contrived.
yes. And then it's good to be wise when you're young because you can only be young but the once. Enjoy yourself and have lots of fun. So glad and live life longer than you've ever done. Enjoy yourself, let anything. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the paint. The years go by as quickly as you wink. Enjoy yourself, let anything. And then they break down again, but this time, Mr. Neville Staples. All right, listen. Everybody sit down. This is my favourite bit. Everybody sit down on the floor, sit down. Oi! Sit down, that's it. Everybody. And you.
Yeah.
It's just it's lunchtime at the school, isn't it? And come on,
Meanwhile, I'll play the part of your buddy.
fantastic. And then it gets going. Get wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. These three were given free by the Maker. Go to school, learn the rules. Don't be no faker. It's not wise for you to be a footstool. And then enjoy yourself with anything. Enjoy yourself with the pig, and it repeats twice, and we're done. We've added chaos. Yeah. So this song is used as a bit of an anthem in various bits. I mean, there's certain bands used to use it as their walk-on music. Pop Leaps have used it for a while. People have used it in radio shows as their theme tune. It's kind of, it spreads everywhere, and it's really much beloved. It's sort of gone beyond. As a song, it's fine. It's not their best, but there's all the sentiment and the background behind it and everything. It's just, incredible. And so it really has sort of become more than its parts, as it were.
Sure.
And it does have this kind of British, even though there's definitely obviously, Afro-Caribbean is, blended into it, but it has this British sort of like, defiance about it, which is just a wonderful flavour to it. So coinciding with the album's release, the Specials began their More Specials tour in the autumn of 1980, but conflicts between the band resurfaced during the album's recording, continued to develop through the tour, and the relations between the members were the worst they've ever been. Dammers recalls band members becoming tired and constantly feeling under pressure, and throughout the tour they watched the country falling apart as shops throughout the British towns and cities they played became shuttered up and closed down. And he's quoted as saying, you'd not be surprised the first two words out of his mouth, "Margaret Thatcher had apparently gone mad. She was closing down all the industries, throwing millions of people on the dole. We could actually see it by touring round. You could see the frustration and anger in the audience. In Glasgow, there was the little old ladies on the streets selling all their household goods, their cups and saucers. It was unbelievable. It was clear that something was very, very wrong." The scenes that they saw inspired the lyrics of their subsequent masterpiece, the single Ghost Town, 1981. Critically acclaimed hit. All three of the major music magazines in the UK awarded Ghost Town the accolade of Single of the Year. And it mixed in reggae with Dammer's continued experimentation with easy listening and program music. Reached number one in the summer of 1981 as riots spread across England. Yeah, and it's interesting you say about how the crowd and the relationship between Specials and the crowd. I mean, you got to remember, there's Switzerland with this video, so it's a different country, but they've still got that bond there, and that started to fracture. There was other things going on, and it became a more difficult place. Oh, Linville Golding, I think it was attacked. He had racially attacked and put in hospital. And there's a lyric in Ghost Town. They're going about this place is going like a ghost town. Bands won't play no more. Too much fighting on the dance floor. And it kind of reflects that increasing violence.
Okay.
So
That
the
answers
song
that
itself,
question.
yeah, the popularity of the song was not enough to rebuild relations with the band. And actually, I think they pretty much either they announced it within themselves backstage on Top of the Pots as they hit #1 and they're about to go on and do it, that they were splitting up. And so most of the members actually left in 81 after that. And only Dammers and Bradbury remained. They added some new members and they changed the band's name to The Special, aka. And then through the power of music, they got Nelson Mandela released. Kind of. So yeah, that just gives you a little flavour of what was going on. And this was obviously not that long before that as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
But this is clearly they're still enjoying themselves on stage at this time. So this is a real Bobby Dazzler, I think, in terms of a performance.
Yeah, I would agree
so-
completely.
Now, this is probably going to get me comments, right? But I'm going to say this anyway. So we've done a number of songs by The Clash. And one of the popular comments that people, fans of Clash, drop is the only band that matters. Now, it's fair enough thing to say that, but I would say for myself, and I think for large slices of Britain that maybe not all completely white, the Specials were another band that were hugely important, not just of their musical output, which was, they carried on doing other stuff after this, but those first 2 albums are key, and then Encore, which I'll get to another time. But what they did in terms of two-tone music and racial integration and changing people's viewpoints was massive. And I think they're much bigger influence than the Clash did, sort of doing sort of reggae music, which did help and was important. Don't get me wrong, but I think the Specials were a truly special band as well, and they're worth sort of noting that. So we will do more specials. I have a couple lined up. I will not let it slide for another 3 years.
Okay,
So,
excellent.
yeah.
I'll hold you to it.
Yeah, excellent. All right, I shall wrap things up. Thanks for listening to this, Andy.
Thank you.
Folks out there, please tell us what you think. If you like this, do slap one of your meaty paws down on the like button and register your delight. And drop some comments. We'd love to hear from you think of this song, this performance as well. Loads of happy memories. I've seen plenty of bands do this song, covered it over the years. It's much fond memories that I look back on this. So yeah, we'd love to hear what you say as well. If you haven't subscribed already, you fools, you're mad. Nothing can save you apart from perhaps a subscription. Please hop on board. We really appreciate everybody who does support the channel. You are more than welcome. That being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of The Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.